G'léir, and welcome to the Loaf of Bread GAA podcast, slicing into the GAA of the past, present and future. Join me, Jason Keelan, as we cut into the largest loaf of bread known to mankind. On Slice 9 this week, I had the chats with a Gneeveguilla and Kerry GAA star defender who has more accolades in his back pocket than many. Rising star Owen Fitzgerald joins me for the chats on Peter Keane and John Sugrue, finding out he was on the Team of the Year in the middle of construction class, the Munster Final Chickenpox Saga, marking one of the Cliffords, life in UCC, and the highlight of lockdown, the arrival of the PlayStation 5. But before we do that, let's take our usual trip through Owen's native area of Gneeveguilla in East Kerry. Bon Sultas. This week we move from Ailish Considine's home village of Kilmihill in West Clare down to a small village in the Gneeveguilla area of southeast Kerry called Gneeveguilla, near Rathmore, not far from the border with rivals Cork. Boasting just under 300 residents, the hills and valleys surround an area steeped in history of farming and incredible traditional musicians. For a small village, it boasts one of the country's largest athletics clubs, who have achieved success at county and national level. Gneeveguilla itself encompasses many areas such as Castle Island, Ballydesmond, Abbeyfield and Brusna, as well as having its own unique style of traditional music, a style which includes many polkas, double jigs, reels and the local jigs known as slides. Many famous musicians such as Julia Clifford, Paddy Cronin, Johnny O'Leary and Dennis Murphy all hail from the area. The master, as he was known, was one Padraig O'Keefe. When Paddy Cronin died aged 88 in 2014, it signalled the end of the Gneeveguilla clan trained by O'Keefe, as he was the last of his pupils. Paddy was once asked to help teach his musical skills commercially to a musician at one point. His reply to the musician was, "Stick to the shit you're playing because there's no money in the real thing." That tells you all you need to know about how personal the Gneeveguilla music was. In 1896 the village was the scene for one of the worst landslides in Irish history. The horrible weather of the winter took the lives of 8 of the locals. The village of Gneeveguilla also boasts 2 sculptures of local icons. Firstly, actor and Shanachie Eamon Kelly. His statue was unveiled in 2003 after he had died aged 87 in 2001. Kelly had starred in Dublin's major theatres during the 1950s and 60s. In film, he is best remembered for his role as Screwballs O'Donnell in Brian Friel's famous Philadelphia Here I Come, for which he received a Tony Award nomination in the USA and, perhaps more importantly, has featured on the Leaving Cert before. He also starred in Juno and the Paycock and A Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man, 2 world-famous pieces of literature. Finally, poet Eoin O'Rahilla was also from the village, a man who might not be known to many, but is the creator of the famous Aisling poems of Ireland, where the land is shown as a beautiful woman who is desperate to revive the country. Its most famous, Gneeveguilla, is considered one of the great pieces of Irish writing, the brightest of the bright, whom I met upon my way. Gneeveguilla also boasts one of the GAA and Kerry greats, a 6'2" man who captained the senior team to victory in 1984 as the GAA celebrated its centenary. Ambrose O'Donovan played in the green and gold between 1984 and 1992. He was just 22 years old when he lifted the All-Ireland title. At the time, he was also the only East Kerry player on the team. James Weir of the Sligo team holds the honour of being the youngest. The cornerback was just 19 when he lifted the Nicky Rackard Cup as captain in 2019 in Croke Park. O'Donovan played alongside the great Jack O'Shea in the famous Kerry midfield at the time, and was succeeded as captain by the man who was the focal point of Slice 1 of the podcast, Paddy O'Shea. But nobody can take away the glory from the man. 3 consecutive All-Irelands in 84, 85 and 86 in a team which is considered perhaps the greatest ever is no mean feat. The village would win the Kerry Intermediate title in 2010 and had a double scores win over St Brecons of Clare to claim Munster, led by captain Don Murphy. The club has that amazing traditional GAA feel to it. On the 2010 Munster Final team, 6 Murphys, 4 O'Connors, 3 Sheehans and 2 O'Learys found their way onto the field of play that day. The club would ultimately fall at the second last hurdle to St James of Galway after extra time. Nevertheless, they had done the village proud. As for Owen, football began, as he will tell you, at home with the family. Parents hailing from 2 clubs and living in Kerry meant the round ball was the main topic of conversation. Owen attended Mean Togs National School, a small two-teacher school, before moving on to Scoil Phobal Sliabh in Rathmore. While there in 2019, Owen captained the school to their first ever appearance at a Kerry A county final in the O'Sullivan Cup, a first for the school of around 300 pupils. In the same season, he captained the school to their first ever Munster B senior victory over Rosscarbery of neighbouring Cork. Sadly, the dream would end with heartbreak in the All-Ireland final in a 1-point defeat to Roscommon CBS in the Paddy Drummond Cup. At club level, Owen spent his career in the backline, bar a short stint in midfield, but as he says, the football skills left him a little bit limited. With the Kingdom, Owen won Munster and All-Ireland titles at minor level in 2018 to coincide with the All-Star award he received, which you'll hear a great story about. That was the county's 5th title in a row, a first in GAA minor football history. Victory over Galway was special, considering the tribesmen boasted names such as Tom O'Culhan and Ryan Monaghan. Last season's Munster final win over Cork would be the only silverware, as the tribesmen stopped them getting to Croker in the semi-final. As for Gneeveguilla, the fledgling defender has tasted victory at Division 3 Senior County League, while also winning 3 minor titles with his Kerry in 2017, 18 and 19, the latter of which as captain of the region, an honour not bestowed on many in the Kingdom. As for the future, Owen called me a messer when I suggested he might be the next Seamus Moynihan. But why wouldn't he be? I'm sure the lads will slag him, but it is clear that he is determined to succeed and lives and breathes the green and gold. You only have to look at some of the clips of his performances and you can see that his tenacity alone has all the hallmarks of an O'Shea or a Moynihan or an O'Sullivan. In the 2018 All-Ireland final, he kept Daniel Cox scoreless from fullback before he was subbed in 45 minutes. Indeed, watching the 2018 minor final again, cornerbacks Conor Flannery and David Mangan kept their men to 2 points in total from play. So the signs for the Kingdom reigniting success are there. Whether they can come back to the level of the Dubs is still there to debate, but certainly with the likes of Owen there, the future is bright. But of course, you can forget the young lads are still that, young lads. And one story Owen didn't tell in the podcast that he told me after sums up schools football. Before the semi-final of the Kerry Schools Championship in 2018, Owen and the lads decided to skip class and hide in the canteen for hours before leaving for the game. But soon after hiding, they ended up in front of the principal and faced with the prospect of the game being cancelled. They were playing the SEM, better known as St Brendan's Killarney, a school with several O'Sullivan Cups. Rathmore had never beaten them at any level. Throw-in was at 1:30, and at 2:15 the lads were not on the pitch. And then, an hour late, they arrived in Dr. Croke's pitch. A conversation between the management of the team and the school principal meant their game went ahead, just about. Clearly, hiding in the canteen paid off. Rathmore beat Brendan's for the first time ever and went on to play Pobbleskull Corkagwina. The lesson had been learnt. You might be playing for the Kingdom, but you can't hide in the canteen for too long without being found out. Let's hope Owen and the lads never get found out on the pitch in the years to come. And so, let's meet the man himself, Gneeveguilla and Kerry All-Ireland winner and future star for the Kingdom, the gentleman himself, Owen Fitzgerald.
Well, Jason, how's it going?
Things? Not too bad.
Not too bad, no.
Fair play to you for coming on, thanks very much.
The internet's alright in me at the moment.
That's alright, yeah. It's not too bad here. It's only crashed once on me in the last few days, so it's not too bad. So I was all down in Gneeveguilla.
It's not too bad, no. Going through the lockdown is hard enough, but sure, what can you do?
Yeah, I am pronouncing the club right, haven't I? Is that how you pronounce it?
Close enough. It's a hard one to pronounce. It's Gneeveguilla.
Gneeveguilla, yeah. No, I job share and teaching at the moment with a girl from Tralee. And when I was chatting to her last night, we were talking about a week parent-teacher meetings next week. And I said to her, I've driven through this place before, I said to her, but I said, I think I pronounced it wrong. And she said, Gneeveguilla. And I was like, okay, I definitely pronounced it wrong anyway. How did you say it again?
Gneeveguilla.
Gneeveguilla, okay. Gneev is nearly easier than what she told me, so Gneeveguilla, okay. I'll do my best anyway. Yeah, the first one that I've asked everybody is who your GAA influences growing up. I suppose for you around Sliabh and beyond as well, so.
I suppose growing up anyway, around where I'm from, there's plenty of people you could look up to growing up. You'd the likes of Seamus Moynihan and Ian O'Mahony and Declan O'Sullivan, all Tom O'Sullivan, all just over the road.
Yeah.
With my own club, Gneeveguilla. We had a brilliant team from 2000s all the way to 2012, and there was plenty of lads you could pick off that. I suppose my favourite there was a man by the name of Liam Murphy.
Local man.
Full forward. Full forward, well above before his time. Played full forward for us for 10, 12, 14 years maybe. Especially they got a run in the intermediate All-Ireland series in 2010. They got to the semi-final, and what that man couldn't do that year, I'm telling you. And then I suppose when growing up and watching Kerry play, my favourite player was always Paul Galvin. I just thought the determination and the passion that man brought was something else. Joe, he was different. You wouldn't say he was no footballer, but what he brought to the table besides that was something else.
Had the fashion as well, of course. So
yeah, there's always a bit of controversy around. I kind of like that, I think.
Yeah.
And I think the one I got the most stick about, Joe, I always had a favourite player in every position. And being a defender, the player I always looked up to was Ricey from Tyrone.
Right.
I remember just the way Joe, he was small. He was like myself, kind of. I liked to kind of base my play off him nearly. He was just small and tenacious. Joe, he didn't really care about anything what was said about him, but he'd always give it his all the same.
You had no issues with your hair then either, no? Getting rubbed on the head?
No, no, not at all.
And the area you're brought up in, Gneeveguilla, is famous as a trad music area. Is it something you were brought up in as well yourself, or?
No, to be honest, I couldn't play any in I was brought up in a football madhouse.
Yeah.
The father was, both my parents are actually from just over the border in Cork. My father would be from a small club called Knocknagree.
Oh, yeah.
They won the Junior All-Ireland there, I'd say, 3 or 4 years back. And the mother would be from Kishgane then. They're a senior club now in Cork at the moment, as far as I know.
All right, I've definitely heard them before.
No, definitely not. But no, growing up it was always football, and there was nothing else allowed being taught really in the house.
Yeah, that sounds. It sounds about right. I suppose with a second name like Fitzgerald, is the pressure on in Kerry when you start playing football already? Is it?
Yeah, you'd hear a few things thrown around. All right, you must be good at football then, but geez, I don't know about that. I won't be the most skillful player you'd come across anyway.
You haven't done too bad for yourself already, anyway. So.
All right, we're coming up along nicely. Everything's going nicely at the moment. We'll see where it goes.
What was life like under the different managers at minor county level?
I suppose I've had, this is my third different manager now at Kerry. I suppose I started with Peter Keane with the minors.
James Costello.
And I think just actually no,
didn't have him.
I never had James.
Never had him. Okay.
I was gone by the time he came in. My year minor, I was managed by Peter Keane, and I thought he's a weird man in the sense he could be very serious, and then 5 seconds later he could be pulling the Mickey out here.
Yeah.
But I thought just the way he approached the game, he was always there as a friend more as a manager. I think he's a very approachable kind of manager. Someone I always kind of liked. And then I suppose last year with the Kerry under 20s we had John Sugrue. I don't know, he was there are two completely different managers, I suppose you'd say. He's a very serious man, but he has a brilliant way of thinking about the game and how he wants to play his teams. He brings kind of a basketball kind of strategy to the game, which I actually quite liked a lot. And then of course this year now we've Declan O'Sullivan with the 20s, and unfortunately I haven't had the chance to meet him yet now because of the whole COVID situation. But look, he was always a player I kind of looked up to as well when I was growing up, so he's someone I'm very looking forward to meet with, to be honest.
Yeah, he's quite an illustrious career behind him as well, I suppose. And for yourself, getting on the 2018 minor All-Star team, 5th consecutive title for the county as well, is that the high point of the career so far?
I don't know, it's tough to say. It's I don't play the sport for any individual awards.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I'd say I was the last person in Kerry to find out I'd have won. I remember I was inside in a construction class in school at the time, and another player, the midfielder who got it, goes to school with me. His name was Dara Raleigh. And everyone knew that morning that Dara got it. And we had a construction teacher who'd be a bit easy on the phone and stuff. So we all said we'd gather around one phone and look at the team that was picked. And we went goalie, whoever that was. And then they all saw myself full back. And Jesus, we all looked at each other and we were shocked.
Place erupted.
Wasn't something I was expecting, but it was a nice one to get added on to the end of the year, Joe. I think it was a very special year to get the 5 in a row, Joe. We never talked about it, but when it actually did happen, then it was just an unbelievable feeling. And I think especially the way we came through that competition, there was a lot of close, tight games that could have went either way.
Yeah. And I'd say that construction class was interesting. They said T-squares and pencils and stuff flying around the room after the announcement was made. So I really feel sorry for that teacher.
Mark my words, he was joining in.
Fair enough. He's East South, so yeah. Was getting picked on the team, like when you think about it, the lads who selected it, like you'd Ollie Canning, Sean Kavanagh, I think Daniel Goulding, like the massive names of the GAA who selected that team. It must have been, I know you say you don't want the individual awards, but at the same time, it must have been like, Jesus Christ, like these are big names that have picked me.
Oh, Jesus, yeah. I was ecstatic when I got it.
Yeah.
Even when I got the award on the day, I remember I was sitting at the table and it was Sean Kavanagh, I think, if my memory serves me right, who was handing out the awards. And I was sitting, I was waiting for my name to be called out, and my hands were getting all sweaty. Geez, I'm going up here now talking to Sean Kavanagh, and I didn't know what I was going to say to him. But no, it was a great thing to receive. I wasn't expecting it, to be honest. I didn't have a great start to that year, but I thought the way I finished it off was what pulled it over the line for me.
Yeah. What would you say the negative start of the year? What went wrong for you?
I don't know. I suppose we started in Thurles against Tipperary. We won by 3 points. It was a brilliant Tipperary minor team. They pushed us all the way. I didn't have a bad game, but there were a few times I slipped inside and I was like, geez, what's going on here now? And I suppose we went back training and we played Dublin in a challenge game, I'd say 2 weeks, before the Munster Final, or a week maybe. And the game was on, I'd say, in Westmeath or Limerick or somewhere.
All right.
And I was on a big full forward now from Dublin. I'd be far from a tall man. And they lumped high ball in on top of me all day long. And it's fair to say, by the time the Munster Final came around, I wasn't playing full back anymore. I was after being relegated to the bench for that game, I'm afraid. And but it was a weird perspective to watch that game. I think we won the game by a last minute point in added time. Jack O'Connor from Beaufort came off the bench and scored it, and I got no run out in the game. And I kind of went home that night, and I was annoyed, to say the least. I was like, I was bad, but I didn't think I wasn't bad to get on. And Peter rang me I woke up the next morning, and I had an itchy forehead. My arm was feeling itchy. And Peter Keane, who was the manager at the time, rang me. He was like, look, that's behind us now. We have a new championship. We're training tomorrow. And I went to school that day, and I was getting itchier and itchier all day. I was like, what's the story here? And I came home from school, and I told Mom, Uncle went down with something here. And she was like, go into bed. And I went to sleep for a few hours, and I woke up, I'd say 9 o'clock that night, and I covered from head to toe in chickenpox.
Stop.
And I had to, to say I was delighted that I wasn't playing night before then, because I'd say if I was playing, I would have got an awful roasting.
Well, whoever you were marking would have come out, would have come out the worst as well. So.
Right, to ring Peter in, I said, he would have been a bad way too. But I said, right, I better ring Peter Keane now and tell him I can't come train tomorrow. Of the chickenpox, and I picked up the phone anyway. I said, Fitzy, how are you? I was like, or not today. And I said, I'm after going down with the chickenpox. And Joy, I heard a loud laugh coming from the other end of the phone, and he was saying, "You're joking." And I'm like, "No, I'm serious now." And he was like, "This isn't just because of what's happened in the Munster Final." Like, "No, Peter, I swear to God, no, that's not it."
You're having to send him photos of WhatsApp, was it? Here's proof, like.
No, he said, "Right, so don't bother coming training the next night." And the boys from Rathmore who were on the squad, I used to travel train with them. And the minute they walked in the door, Peter Keane was there standing with the hands crossed and saying, "What's wrong with Owen in me, lads?" And they all said, "No, he has chickenpox, I swear, I swear." And he said, "Do you have any photo of him?" And they said no. And they gave me a ring on the phone. And he said, "Fitzy, Peter's here and he wants to see a photo to prove the chickenpox." And I took off all the ear there and sent it on to Peter Keane. And she was kind of looking at me like, "What would Peter Keane want to be doing seeing a half-naked boy here?" Like, I was like, "Prove the chickenpox swab."
That's hilarious. That's a unique story.
He
anyway,
got his photo, he got his picture anyway. He got his picture anyway, and the trust was made from there on, I think, and it pushed me on in for the rest of the season.
That's brilliant, yeah. What's the dressing room like? It's always just one of these places in East Kerry, playing with East Kerry. Like, you've got like yourselves, was it Friaries, Fossa, Glenflesk, Kilcummin? Like, there's a Reiki in the dressing room who are all rivals. Like, do you get on as a team, or is it easy to get on?
I think once you're outside the East Kerry dressing room, there's no such thing as friendship. But when you're inside there, then you all come together. I suppose growing up, all the way, you would have been playing minor and under 21 with East Kerry, so you kind of have a fair idea of the lads you were playing with anyway, and you'd all be fairly friendly enough. But once it's outside East Kerry dressing room, then you'd have no bother pulling the jersey off a man's back.
Yeah, fair enough, yeah. And you've lost down in Kerry, you've lost the likes of Devidas and Stefan to Brisbane and Geelong. Is it just the temptation of playing abroad and going travelling for a while that's just too good to turn down, or?
I don't know. It's when an opportunity like that presents itself to you, it's hard to say what you do. It's a professional lifestyle over there. You're playing sport. You're doing what you love 24/7. You're getting paid for it. Like, I think if you offered any man that, he'd struggle to turn it down. Like, saying that though, for me anyway, personally, I think, Joe, you always grew up to play in the green and gold of Kerry, and it was never any other jersey.
Yeah, I suppose even when you look at like Ty Kennelly went out, but he still couldn't resist a chance to come back.
He had to come back.
Fairly handy for him to come back and win the All Ireland. Like, there's not many lads in Westmeath who come back and just say, "Oh yeah, I'll just come back to win the All Ireland and then I'll go again."
It's the luxury, I suppose, that comes with living down here, I suppose. It
is, yeah. It's the luxury of the kingdom, yeah, definitely, yeah. What's it like bringing the cup round to the schools? Is it like, Jesus Christ, like, or is it, this is class, or are you like absolutely shitting yourself going in?
I think it depends on the school and the age of the pupils inside the school, Joe.
Yeah.
Going to the old primary schools, especially where I'm from, a lot of the schools would only be 2 or 3 teacher schools, and they'd only have 30 or 40 pupils inside there. So it's only go in and you'd know half the pupils, and it's only a laugh inside there with them. I remember one school actually in particular, it's called Shrone National School. There's only about 15 pupils in it, and we all went in. We had our conversation with the lads, and we went out on the field at the back of the pitch then and had a game of football for half an hour with them. It was kind of relaxed, and then you went to a secondary school and there's lads in here older than yourself. You'd be saying, you'll be bricky going up on stage, like, to talk in front of them, like, "Gee, what are these guys going to think of me?" Like,
yeah, that was brilliant. Yeah, no, I was kind of wondering what it was like when you go to the secondary, especially when, like, it's sort of fair chance there's a chunk of the lads in there who are definitely bigger than you, older than you, and you're there not talking down to them, but you're like, trying to inspire them with your victory, and they're kind of going, "What is this gobshite, talking to me about?" So
yeah. Absolutely. Even if I was down there myself, I'd be looking up saying, "What's this man on about?" Like,
yeah, that's brilliant. What's been the best celebrations and the best moments with the Kerry lads so far?
I suppose with Kerry so far, anyway, the highlight has to be winning the All-Ireland at minor, obviously, and winning the under-20 Munster final just this year gone by.
Yeah.
I suppose this year in particular, with the under-20s, we beat Cork down in Tralee, I'd say, on the Tuesday night. And as luck would have it, it was rag week in Limerick. So I remember we all went out in Tralee that night, and we got the green bus from Tralee to Limerick at around 3 o'clock in the morning. And we all rocked up into the student accommodation that morning, 9 o'clock, still drunk, on the way to the pub to have a few more cans. And I think that was 2 or 3 days before the country went into lockdown as well. So it was the right way to end it anyway.
You timed that one fairly well. What do you think, speaking, I suppose, since the COVID set in, what do you think, what's the future for Kerry football after COVID eventually hopefully goes away?
I think in Kerry you always kind of have to be optimistic somewhere, some way or another. You know, there's plenty of players there, especially with the senior setup. I think it was a bad year last year. Now there's no doubt about that. I remember I watched the game at home in my sitting room, sitting by the fire, and Kerry were up in the last few minutes, and me and my brother and my father were all sitting by the fire. We saw the high ball come in, and my father started laughing, and they kicked it first. And he said, "Is this all they have?" And then the ball tumbled into the net. My brother jumped off the couch and said, "Oh, for a word like that." And the shock in the room for about 10 minutes, it was complete silence. And then the realization set in, and the absolute anger. Yeah. I tell you, we went to the shop that night, bought 2 crates of Heineken, and drank the sorrows away.
As has to be done after that. It's gas that your father just was laughing at the high ball. That's there's some sort of I don't know what you call it, karma or something in that though.
Yeah, there's a bit of irony there now.
Definitely irony. Yeah. Who's the toughest lad you've ever marked, would you say, in your club or county that you've come across, or any particular standout ones?
That's a good question, I suppose. With the club anyway, we've had some good battles. I've played senior now the last 2 years, and we reached the junior semi-final last year, and we're waiting to play the junior final. But I suppose this year in particular, we played Fossa in the semi-final, and Dave Clifford full forward, Paddy centre forward. It's a dynamic duo that you have to kind of come across. And I had the chance to mark Paddy that day, and he's just a player who just keeps running and running, and he's an absolute dog, and he has to be the toughest player I've ever marked.
Okay.
He would not give you 1 minute to rest. And I think he's a player who, going forward for Kerry especially, could be nearly the key to the jigsaw.
Okay. So
just what he brings.
Right. Okay. That's interesting to know. Yeah. In the quick fire round, I'm going to change one of the questions just slightly, just after saying that, and see what you say in a few minutes. So, how's the studying going with the English and the history?
Geez, it's tough enough now at home. I got the Christmas results there not too long ago, and luckily enough, I passed them all, so I was only delighted with that now.
Happy days, yeah.
But happy days. But I'm in second year now in UCC. To be honest, the only reason I chose UCC is I saw it as a place where footballers can thrive, really.
Yeah.
With Sigerson, and that was my sole reason for picking UCC. And the way I have to say, the way they take care of their players up there is absolutely outstanding. There's nothing too much that they can do for you.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Definitely a well-known place in Sigerson anyway.
Hopefully now next year I'll be back on campus, and we can enjoy the college. Hopefully I play some Sigerson, and we can enjoy the on life campus in college.
Brilliant, yeah. The last question then that I've started to ask everybody before I do the quick fire round is, have you ever had any luck in the club lotto? It's a vital question.
No, my name's never been drawn out in the club lotto. Funnily enough, it always seems to be the lads in the top table whose name's drawn out, however that happens.
There's no accusations we thrown out there whatsoever. So, If you're happy enough, Owen, to play the quick fire round, we'll give that a go before I let you go. I presume you're studying away there, obviously, so I don't want to be taking your Thursday night away, yourself. So.
Oh no, PlayStation 5 came this morning, so.
Oh, grand. Oh, geez, we should talk about that for a while. So, yeah. The quickfire round, since the podcast is called the Loaf of Bread after Paddy O'Shea's famous speech to the Westmeath lads here in 2004. So the quickfire round is called cutting the crusts off because you're a little shit who won't eat them for your mother. So it's very aptly named quickfire round. So there's about 20 questions or so, and it's just answer away whatever you want. What's your favourite ground you've ever played in?
Simple Stadium. Brilliant grass there.
Okay, and the least favourite ground?
Rabig in Ratmore, the neighbouring club. Never warm there. I swear to God, it could be snowing on the hottest day of the year in Rabig.
That's a lie anyway. Would you be more the hand pass or drive it long?
I'd be more a hand pass, I'm afraid. Keep it tidy, nice and tasty.
The real Kerry weight. And short kick out or long kick out?
Oh, drive it out the centre. Don't be putting me under pressure.
As a supporter, would you go for the tea and the hang sandwiches or the pre-match pub?
The tea and the hang sandwiches. You got to keep it traditional.
Yeah, very good. Hats, flags, scarves, or headbands. You can pick one.
Has to be the hat. Those flags are far too annoying when you're trying to watch a game. I've gotten angry at enough lads at games with them.
Oh, good enough, yeah. Are you more of a Marty or a Des man?
Oh, the Marty party all day long.
Marty party, love it. Who's your favourite pundit on telly, male or female, any sport?
That's a tough one now. There's not too many of them I like. I suppose Tomas O'Shea would be my favourite. He seems fair and he speaks a bit of sense, and you don't see that too much now.
Yeah, good stuff. I'll take that. I'm going to change this one from what I've asked to everybody else. Which of the Cliffords could you pick? If you had to pick one.
If I was picking for an inter-county team, I'd have to pick David. Just what he can bring to that.
Okay, and what's the funniest or craziest thing that's ever been shouted at you from a sideline?
That's a tough one now. Especially when I'm playing, I tend not to listen to what's being shouted at me.
Well, I tell you, up to our fullback Eddie O'Sullivan, who was captain, I think my favourite one. He said there was a game where it was a challenge game. I think he came home from the pub or celebrating at 7 a.m. The game was at 11, and midway through the game, the manager just turned to him and just said, "Eddie, just come off." He wasn't subbing him or anything. He just said, "Just come off. Like, it's easier if you just come off." So, yeah, if there's anything like that you can think of.
It's I can. It wasn't shouted to me, but I remember the first time I played a minor game. I was 15, and it was against Dr. Crokes in a Division 1 County League game, and the great Ambrose O'Donovan was managing us at the time.
The man himself.
And he pulled me aside before I went out, and he said, "Owen, I want you to go out there, shake your man's hand, and tell him you know his sister." And I did it, and I got a desperate thump off your man, and he was 3 or 4 years older than me, and I felt it.
That is brilliant. That's I think that's my new favourite, definitely. Yeah. If there was a GAA transfer market in the morning, who would you buy in for the Kerry team? One player.
Who would I buy in? I think it'd have to be Johnny Cooper.
Ooh,
I think he's a player who could really make. I think he's a player who could really make a difference for a team like Kerry. He's tough, tenacious, man-marking cornerback, plenty of grit in him, and I think he's someone Kerry really need at the moment.
Okay, I like that, yeah. What's your favourite boots?
My favourite boots? I think they're the ones I have at the moment. They're the Adidas Lethal Zones. You know, the black ones with the pink, the red stripes on them. Like, I've them now at the moment, and I have to say they're a lovely boot, but they came at some price.
To set you back a few. Are you studs or moles?
Oh, studs all day long.
Studs all day.
When I was playing with the East Kerry Miners, Seamus Moynihan was managed just the first year. And I remember we played mid-Kerry in Beaufort, and I'd say it was 19 degrees outside. And the fullback for our team, Chris O'Donovan, went out in moles. And Seamus saw him, and he pulled him aside and said, "What are you doing wearing moles? When you're playing fullback, you can never wear moles. 6 studs only."
That's brilliant. I love that one. Sweeper or no sweeper?
If I was watching a game, I hate to see a sweeper, but if I'm playing in the game, I love to see a sweeper in front of me.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, Kieran Hanley, the quarterback for Upterard, the boys changed the question for him and said, do you need 5 or 6 sweepers, when he goes marauding up the pitch? So what's your favourite sport outside of the GAA?
I did a lot of swimming growing up, but I think my sport to watch would have to be rugby. I could watch that all day long, and brilliant characters in that sport too.
Brilliant. What's the best holiday you've ever been on?
A holiday, that's something I could do right now with all this COVID stuff.
we all could.
But I went to Florida, I'd say, with the family about 5 years ago for 2 weeks, Florida and New York, and it was some experience.
Yeah.
Just the lifestyle out there is very different to here.
It is, yeah. Lovely spots as well. And the last of all the questions then, in your lifetime, who has been the best GAA player?
I'd have to say the Gooch, and I don't think there's any competition there. I think he's the greatest man ever to wear football boots.
Setting the marker down for the rest of the guests that come on. So yeah, we've had a bit of everyone. In fairness, we've had a few interesting ones, which is good. So yeah, Gooch. I think that's the first. The Gooch has come up as well, which is good. I'll have to add him to the list. Oh, and yeah, that's all the crack I have anyway. And look, you're an absolute gent for taking time out of, which I'm sure you're studying away there. The PlayStation is. We can edit that out that you have a PlayStation. We don't have to say that if you don't want. But yeah, look, you're a star.
Evening, I'd say.
Oh, definitely, yeah, you're a star. Thanks so much for joining me on the podcast, and the best of luck when things pick up again. And hopefully, we'll see you. Maybe Tyke Morley might be quaking in his boots. You never know.
Thanks, Jason.
Not at all.
Best
Thanks.
luck with the rest of the podcast.
Thanks a million, man. I'll talk to you again soon, hopefully. So take it easy.
So, man, good
Cheers
luck.
on Slán. Coming up next week on the Loaf of Bread GA podcast, we cut into our next slice. Paddy, I have to ask, I suppose, it was one of my favourite songs of the 90s was by a band called Corner Shop, but that song Brimful of Ashes has since been reimagined. Have you anything to say about the famous Paddy Collum chant?
Oh, that was a good friend of mine, Paul Gill, thought he'd come up with that, and he got that going. I think it was actually after a league final. We were in O'Donoghue's in Dublin, and we were after losing the Offaly, and he Brave Giant were playing in O'Donoghue's.
Yeah. Started
singing that out loud, and sure, everyone started singing, and then I don't know if it made me look good or bad.
Well, it's on Slice 10, I have the chats with 3 stars of the current Longford senior men's football panel. Killo's Danny Mimna, Father Manninghale's goalkeeper Paddy Collum, and my cousin Dara Doherty from Mostrom GAA. We chat everything from the Paddy Collum chants, Danny taking water from a homeless man in Dublin, Dara recovering the O'Byrne Cup from the Gardaí, Paddy Power tweeting about Paddy's hat, the Royal Rumble in Spain, and much more. Don't miss it. Until next Thursday morning, Slán agaí.